Okay.
Maybe
Great.
the lights can come down a little bit so we can see the audience.
We need the lights. We need the lights.
You need the lights up?
We need the lights.
All right.
So the big keywords for this session are going to be building and transformation. Because I think both Barry and Melissa are in different stages of either building or transforming key parts of their organizations. And a big function of being able to do that is the question of culture and where culture fits in to all that. And obviously there are challenges and opportunities on both sides. So I think we should start by defining our terms here. When we're talking about digital culture, what are we talking about here? What are like the core parts of a digital culture that you're trying to integrate into your organizations? Start you, Barry.
Me. Core parts, I would say innovation and curiosity. The two have to go hand in hand. I don't think that you can have a strong digital culture if you don't have both an element of constant innovation and constant curiosity.
I think for us, digital very much means e-commerce. So, we're constantly kind of probing into what does that omni-channel experience look like. When I look at driving a monetization program at Kohl's, it's very much about kind of seeing what content publishers are doing, seeing what other retail platforms are doing, just kind of staying in the know about what's going on in the space, and certainly trying to keep your finger on the pulse of how you can walk that line of being a retailer but also a publisher.
What about internally? Because Kohl's is a brick and mortar physical retailer, 60 years old plus or so. Surely there must be challenges in bringing that sort of digital thinking to a business that is, for most of its history been in the physical.
Yeah, it's a challenge, and I certainly would be remiss if I didn't say there was days where I went into work feeling like I needed to wear a flak jacket, dealing with kind of your old school brick and mortar merchants. But I think the reality is the numbers don't lie, and 96 to 98% of the people that come to most retailer sites don't buy anything, and so. With the advent of shrinking margins and the Amazons and the Jets of the world, mid-tier retailers are really dealing with a real margin crunch. And so, we're able to kind of provide some nice bottom line profit injection, and that speaks volumes. So
I think we should probably talk a little bit about what you're doing inside of Kohl's. So Kohl's is obviously a retailer, but you are building what essentially sounds like a publishing business within a retailer. Give us a brief overview of what you're.
Yeah, essentially we are an agency arm within Kohl's. So we sell on both direct programmatic audience extension, and then I run a sales team internally that sells to endemic advertisers. So work very much with the Levi's, the Dysons, KitchenAids, so on and so forth, who have really found just tremendous value in thinking about situating their media spend at a retailer, which is, again, people have wallet in hand, there's interest, intent, and they're able to really convert right then and there. And so, we really talk to them a lot about the first party data, the incredible amount of buying history that we have on our very loyal consumers, and the fact that they don't really need to jump from a content publisher placement to a retailer to convert, that they can just place the item in their basket right then and there and convert.
Right. Well, that seems very. There seem to be very clear advantages to building that within Kohl's. Were there any challenges to convincing?
Oh, yes.
Give me something specific.
Yeah, I mean, there is the natural knee-jerk kind of merchants that call you up and why do I see a Ford ad next to my socks? Those sorts of things. So I continue to get those frequently. And it's always a very kind of gentle conversation that I need to bring back to kind of profitability and numbers, and it's really quite staggering. I mean, we're about 2 years in. I have a team of 6 now, but when we had a team of 3, and we were really doing what 15 to 20 stores was doing in revenue, and so the merchants don't always appreciate to hear that, but the reality is that retailers have to wear multiple hats in order to drive profitability these days.
Right. And Barry, you actually also did an interesting kind of pivot. I don't know if you would call it a pivot, with your programmatic team, right? Your programmatic team actually started as your paid search team. Take us through how you decided you wanted to make that transition and the steps to actually making it.
Well, we knew that every media agency today had to have a strong programmatic capability. I mean, you can't be a media agency today without having a really deep and strong programmatic know-how. And so we wanted to bring that back in. And the tools have gotten so self-service, and the people have gotten so, well, they just know how to use the tools a lot better now that it was just perfect timing for us to do that. We also have a very curious bunch at Media Kitchen who love innovation. I mean, they're real classic tinkerers. And so they just were already sort of like diving into the tools. And one of our primary trading desks, DSP partners, is the trade desk. That's who we use. We decided that the first programmatic channel was, well, not we decided, but the first programmatic channel was search. It always has been. And so the people who knew search were perfect, were the perfect group of people to, pick up programmatic buying. They knew how to behave in an auction. They knew how to use the tools. So we just had to train them on them. I don't think that our folks could have been retrained had they not been curious, had they not been innovative, had they not been real go-getters. Media Kitchen has always had a scrappy sort of personality. I think that's always been at our core. We just do stuff. Like, we don't wait for it to get built, we'll go and build it. We don't wait for it to get discovered, we just go discover it. And so for this, it just made sense. We knew we wanted to put programmatic at our core, and so we just did it. And the people that should do it were the search people. And so now they've been rebranded our programmatic team.
But that's something you can only do if you have that kind of culture in place already. Is that a chicken and egg kind of thing?
I think that, so first off, Media Kitchen has had two very, I think, fundamental philosophies that have allowed this spirit of innovation and curiosity to really sort of, take hold and just blow up. The first is that we've always believed that a big idea can come from any place, any place. Richard Kirschenbaum, who started Kirschenbaum and Bond, which is where Media Kitchen was born from, always used to say that. And as a result, he would bring people together from all different walks of life, all different disciplines, to think about an idea. And that's a very unusual thing for a creative director to do. And that spirit of collaboration has always been how we go to market. We like to say that we have a very simple philosophy when it comes to how big ideas happen. It's E equals MC squared. We took a very famous formula and we re-expressed it. For us, the most compelling brand experiences are a product of media and creative working together. And when that happens, it's exponentially more powerful than any one of those disciplines working alone. So that spirit of collaboration is true to our core. And who we collaborate with over the years has changed. We spend a lot of time now collaborating with ad tech partners. But that spirit of collaboration has always been true. So one, the importance of collaboration. The other is we have a very simple hiring philosophy. We like to say that we will only hire people who are great and nice. We have a no asshole policy. If you are an asshole, you are fired. And recently, we just fired somebody who was an asshole. And I think that that's really important because when you're trying to break the mold, and when you're trying to be innovative, and when you're trying to be curious, you kind of put your ideas out there. And who wants to be, nobody wants to be afraid of putting their ideas out there. Nobody wants to be slapped down. And if you work with kind people, that doesn't happen. When you work with assholes, you're in a box. When you work with kind people, the world is possible. And so those two things, I think, have created this sort of digital culture of curiosity, innovation, and tinkering.
What are the tangible manifestations of that? I mean, culture is a very nebulous word until you try to figure out how that actually has real effects on the business, right? So with Amazon recently, they have a certain culture that is, for better or for worse, made them a very valuable company. There are trade-offs to that. How do you go from saying, we're a culture of innovation and tinkering to saying, okay, here's how that culture has actually made us a stronger company?
Well, I think that, if you ask people why they work at Media Kitchen, I think that they believe that they're coming to a place where they're going to learn, where they can be curious, where they can experiment, where they can innovate. Heck, that's the kind of company that I want to work at, and I'm the president, so if I want it to be that way, it's going to be that way. I guess, all cultures, right, it starts at the top. And if that's the kind of place where I want to be, then I'm going to attract people who want to work there too.
Melissa, how would you describe the culture at Kohl's?
I mean, I would
three or
say
four
our
words.
specific team is one of the most innovative.
Right.
You know, I think it's, you know, the whole saying iterate or die.
Right.
I try to hire and really kind of, you know, a team that's always, you know, kind of answering with yes, or we will try. Because, you know, I think one of the, you know, working for a large corporation, one of, I think, the real kind of scourges of large corporations is this kind of, this is the way we do things. And you know, you just see countless examples of basically companies that go on to die with that attitude. And so, you know, we really try to partner. I try to find my allies internally. I work with my CX team, and, you know, we go down to the workshop and see, like, what's cool, like, VR stuff that they're doing, or, you know, get out to shows, or, you know, go travel. I encourage my team to travel, and I think it's really important to keep your finger on the pulse and to just be, you know, an active human being and have a curious mind, and I think that's the most important.
And that's what you're hiring for. Yeah, and so you're essentially building a distinct culture within a larger one. I mean, what are the challenges to doing that?
I mean, again, a lot of the classic kind of merchant challenges. I think specific to programmatic, some of the challenges that we have are co-branded creative. So things that we might have on a whitelist that might slip through. I think we see things like that, or you know, somebody's written in and sees an ad. So, you know, I think it's a constant game of whack-a-mole to run a programmatic business when your core business is also being a retailer. So, you know, there's occasionally, like, you know, the firestorms, like, you know, take Paula Deen off the site, or whatever it is, and, you know, you see people hustle. But I think by and large, you know, it really speaks volumes, again, like driving revenue for the company. And so, you know, when you're driving 100% margin against, you know, some categories that are at 3 or 4% margin, people start to pay attention.
Some of those reservations.
Yeah,
sort of
so
go away.
that's not to say it doesn't have its challenges, but.
You know, so I'll tell you a story. So we probably have about 35% turnover this year at the bottom 2 levels. So like our first 2 levels, so people that have been in the business from 0 to 2 years. And they're all going to ad tech. You know, we've lost maybe 1 or 2 out of, I don't know, a lot to other agencies. And when the numbers first started coming in, I was like, damn, like, what am I doing wrong? And, you know, we were kind of chasing our tail around and beating ourselves up, and, you know, I mean, nobody wants to deal with a lot of, you know, turnover. But in fact, I think we're doing everything right, and that's exactly why we have turnover. You know, we're losing people to Uber and Facebook and Google and PlaceIQ and, I mean, all of these startups. And, you know, we're bringing people in who, and you know, you talk about building a digital culture, right? We're bringing people in who are incredibly poachable. They're learning about ad tech. They're learning how to collaborate. They know what the right stack is. They know who to use. That is invaluable information. And when you talk about building a digital culture today, that's exactly the kind of skills you want people to have.
You want them to have skills that will make them very marketable, so they will.
And so we tell every single person that starts at Media Kitchen, I can't guarantee you that every day you will be happy, but I can guarantee you that every day you will be more marketable as a result of working at Media Kitchen. And I think that that's proven out day in and day out. You know, I think that if you want to build a digital culture today, you have to give everybody the tools. You have to encourage them to be self-starters. You know, you have to encourage them to break shit. You know, I mean, that's how innovation happens.
Right. I wanted to ask a little bit more about, because, you know, we get to the culture question, or you get into the question of, you know, you're building something that is very different from what Kohl's has done previously. You know, one of the questions is the data question, right? I'm very curious about, can you just take us through briefly what someone that's going to is coming to Kohl's for? What are you giving them in terms of
on our team?
On your team.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kohl's, again, we're in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, so a little bit different than being in Manhattan. So I think, you know, one of the things that Kohl certainly offers is, you know, not to sound trite, but, you know, certainly it's a very family value oriented company. So I think, you know, you get the real benefit of, like, being able to raise a family, and which in Milwaukee, Wisconsin is pretty much the norm. So I think there's that. I think, we're a large national brand. I mean, we just get a phenomenal amount of traffic. So, I mean, we get 16 billion impressions alone just on desktop annually. So I think, just, tremendous reach. And I'd like to think that we keep things fun, and I personally have really enjoyed working on the retail side. I've learned a tremendous amount about things that I never knew anything about, all types of things about margins, various products, obviously, feeds, and so I think it's really kind of cool. Kohl's has an award-winning loyalty program, and so the consumer is just incredibly loyal. We have created our own currency, so we know a tremendous amount about our consumers. So driving that first-party data and mirroring that into a third-party data, we're really able to deliver that specific user who likes jeans. We know they like jeans because they were, looking at Levi's and converted within the next, previous 6 months. So really kind of driving that CRM data as, purchase history and mirroring it with third-party data.
It seems to me a very different way of thinking, right? Because now you have all this data that you're leveraging for third parties, like
third party and endemics. So obviously for the endemics, that's really like a slam dunk.
Right.
But Kohl's certainly has we have a buying population that's on par with Macy's. So I mean a lot of consumer spend there. We reach over 66% of U.S. households. So just again tremendous reach, and frankly we've worked quite closely with Forrester, and there's a lot of talk about millennials, but millennials don't have the buying power that some of the baby boomers do. So we really feel that we're well positioned with our audience segment. They're the ones that have cash in hand and are able to convert.
So I want to leave a few minutes for questions. I just have one thing. We were talking about the challenge board. If you were to put something on there now, what would it be?
Piggybacking pixels.
Piggybacking pixels.
I don't know what the challenge board is.
Were you not paying attention?
Not at all. I don't know anything about this. What is this?
Challenge board. Your biggest challenge. You write it down. You put it on the board. We organize it. We talk about what the big challenge.
So my biggest challenge is that you got my Twitter handle wrong. It's @BarryLowenthal. So for those of you that want to submit your resume, it's @BarryLowenthal.
Okay. Well, that doesn't quite fit on there, but that's fine. Okay. Any questions for Barry and
actually?
Questions for Barry and Melissa? Mike is coming with the mic.
Yeah, hi, thanks. I had a question for Barry. I find it interesting what you're saying about the culture and how you kind of nurtured and created this kind of hotbed of innovation and just tinkerers, like you said, right? And whether or not you retain them or not, that's another story. But I was just curious to know, from your perspective, what you would say would be is the greatest advancement or innovation or thing that was kind of brewed up internally, something that maybe the team discovered or actually innovated as it relates to programmatic.
As it relates to programmatic, so there's programmatic on every single plan. That in and of itself, I think, is a tremendous accomplishment. I don't know if I could tell you what particular insight kind of came out of having a programmatic buying strategy on every single plan, but I think it's pretty fantastic that it's so completely integrated that we think of it as just another way to deliver audiences. It's just another publisher. It's just another way to reach consumers. And it holds true for just every single client, whether you're DR, whether you're brand. It doesn't matter where you are in the purchase funnel. Programmatic could be a solution.
Anyone else? Okay.
This is for Melissa. Beyond just the e-commerce ad placements that you guys monetize, do you guys also have in-store digital placements, like within mobile devices or like in-store checkouts and things like that?
Yeah, it's something that we're moving towards. The whole beacon thing, it'll be interesting to see how sticky that becomes. Certainly there's kind of our stretch plan of things. So, we currently monetize email. Mobile will be on our roadmap, and we talk about those things. So beacons, in-store video. So I think there's a lot. Again, like VR, would P&G or L'Oreal want to sponsor some sort of interactive kind of like, you said you just saw what the New York Times did. I thought that was just fantastic. GE sponsored their VR kind of insertion, and so those are the things that you kind of see and you're like, wow, this is cool. This is where it can really go. And certainly your bread and butter is always going to be kind of the programmatic and the mainstay, but it's good to dream too.
You do one more?
First off, the Giants are beating the Patriots in the third quarter. 20-10. This question is actually for Barry. You said that you encourage people to break shit, and I want to know how you get that accomplished throughout the entire company, all the way down to the most junior of people. How do you incentivize them, and how do you audit that system to make sure they are, in fact, trying new things?
So I always talk about my mistakes. And if I don't make mistakes, then if I'm perfect, then everybody else is going to feel pressure to be perfect too, and then nothing will ever get broken. Because I think people will be afraid to break shit. I mean, if you're trying to be perfect, then you typically are afraid to break shit. So I'm always the first one to say, this is what I did wrong, and help me fix it. And I think, and I think every single person at Media Kitchen does the same thing. We're constantly asking each other to help us, fix our mistakes. And I think that if we're all kind of fixing, then we're all breaking. It kind of goes hand in hand.
Great. Well, that's all we have time for. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Nice job.
Good job, Sam.
Okay.